Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. All right, so in our previous video we drafted the pattern of this beautiful peplum blouse. All right, now in this video we're going to be transferring all our patterns to fabric and we will be sewing. Okay, so I went ahead to transfer all the patterns to fabric and I added all our allowances, but I'll take us through what I added. Now I added 1/2 inch round on the center front. Okay, now for the side front I added 1/2 inch on the joining part. Okay, and on the sides I added 1.5 inches sewing allowance. Now I interfaced the lining alone. All right, and like I'll always say, it's all your choice. You can interface both your fashion fabric and your lining. Now that's it for the front. Let's move over to the back pieces. So this is our center back, all right, and this is the side back. So for the center back, I went ahead to interface the lining also alone. All right, now you remember that 7 inches point that I told us that we'll be notching. Okay, we notched it on the pattern and I told us that we'll transfer it to the fabric. Okay, I went ahead to also notch the fashion fabric and the lining. All right, so here it is. Now I also added my 1/2 inch join allowance around the fabric. Now let's move to the modesty panel. So I cut my modesty panel and you remember we added 1/2 inch round on the pattern first. Now I went ahead to add extra 1 inch because we need the modesty panel to drop into the peplum, all right, so that no part of your body will be revealed. Now I'll go ahead and join all these pieces and give it a good press. Okay, it's the same joining process. Now let's move over to the loops. So I cut out this long, these pieces of fabric is measuring 1.25 inches in width. So I'll go ahead and fold it and just stop stitch on it. All right, so just like we're making our bias tape. Now I'll go ahead and do this and we will make use of it as our loops. All right, now here are our fabric. Okay, so I have joined it and I gave it a good press. I also went ahead to attach my bra cups and I marked my 1.5 inches sewing allowance on the side. Okay, the side seam allowance. Okay, so I have it marked on the lining and on the fashion fabric. So you can see I have all our joinings pressed open. Okay, I also marked out my 1.5 inches side seam allowance. All right, now here are the back pieces as well. You can see that they are fully pressed. Okay, so I have them joined. Now for the back you may need to notch your stitches a bit so that they can relax more. Okay, so I marked all my side seam allowances on all of them. Okay, now we'll go ahead to attach the loops. So our fabric that we cut out, I went ahead to cut them into tiny pieces. Now each of them is measuring 2.25 inches. Okay, so that's the length of each of these tiny loops. All right, now I went ahead to mark a spacing of 1 inch. Now I started from that 7 inches that we notched. All right, so this is our pattern and we notched these 7 inches points. Okay, so our loops will start exactly from this 7 inches point. Now the space in between is going to be 1 inch. All right, so I went ahead to mark it. Now you will leave 1/2 inch on your waistline for joining to the peplum. All right, so you also repeat the same marking on the other side of the back piece. Then we will come in with our loops for joining. Okay, so here are the loops. Remember I told us that the length is 2.25 inches. So I'll go ahead and join it this way. All right, now I have a very detailed, super detailed video on how to join loops. All right, so I'll leave the link in the description box. Now I'll go ahead and join this and we will continue. Okay, so before I move over to the sewing machine, now after I'm done joining the loops, I'll go ahead and join the shoulder. Okay, so we're joining fashion fabric alone and lining pieces alone. So I'll join the shoulder of the fashion fabric. I'll also join the shoulder of the lining. Okay, and I will press it open. Now So after I'm done joining, then we'll move over to the sleeve. All right. So here we have it. I have stitched down our loops. Okay. You can see the positioning of the loops. All right. Now let's calculate our sleeve. So from your neckline, you need to come inwards by 1/2 inch and mark. All right. Now from the waistline, I came up by 3 inches. Okay, now from the waistline of the front as well, I also came up by 3 inches. So from the waistline of the front and back, I came up by 3 inches. Now from the neckline, after that 1/2 inch that we first came in with, I also came in was again by 2 inches. All right, so you go ahead and measure from the 3 inches we came up with on the front waistline to the 3 inches we came up with on the back. All right, and what I have here is 24 inches. Now you need to determine how wide you want your sleeve to be, and mine is 5.5 inches. Okay, so that's how wide I want mine. So the sleeve is 5.5 inches in width by 24 inches in length. All right, now we're going to draft it. So here's my pattern paper. We'll first mark the width of the sleeve, which is 5.5 inches. So I'll make a mark there. Now, I told us that the length of the sleeve is 24 inches. So divided by 2 is 12. All right. So I'll go ahead and also make this mark, okay, so that I can get a straight line. All right. And I'll square this line. All right. So let's proceed. Now we need to connect from the 5.5 inches width of the sleeve, okay, to the length. Now on the length, we'll come inwards by 1 inch, okay. So we're connecting from the 5.5 inches width to the 1 inch that we came in with on the length, okay. Now the shape of the sleeve is not just a curve shape, okay. It's a bit curvy, okay. So I'll just try and sketch it. All right, and I'm okay with this shape. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just modify it a little bit before I will highlight it using my marker pen. All right, so here we have it. I'm okay with the shape for now. All right, so I'll just go ahead and highlight it using my marker pen. Okay, and here it is. So we'll go ahead now and add our allowances. Okay, now this side is going to be on fold. So this is the unfold sign. That means that we're not adding any allowance to this side. Okay, so we're only adding 0.5 inch allowance to the sides. Okay, all right, so we're only adding 0.5 inch sewing allowance to the sides. All right, so I'll just go ahead and add that all through, and I'll also highlight it. Okay, here we have it. Now the sleeve is ready. I'll just go ahead and cut this out. All right, so our sleeve is ready. Now I'll go ahead and transfer this to the fabric. All right, now I'll transfer it to both the fashion fabric and the lining. So I'm cutting exactly this. Okay, then we're also adding our collar stay, okay, just to give it more structure. All right, so here it is. I have transferred our sleeve to the fashion fabric and the lining. I cut out exactly. Now here is my collar stay. Okay, so it's a bit stiff. It's not as soft as the hairstay interfacing. So I went ahead to cut this, but I reduced the length. Now from the top part, I reduced the length by 1/2 inch. All right, and on the lower side, I reduced the length by 0.75. Now the reason is this: you don't want the collar stay to enter your stitch lines. All right, so that's it. I also went ahead to cut out my interfacing, okay, which is my hairstay. So I'll go ahead and iron down the hairstay first on both the fashion fabric and the lining. All right, then I'll iron down the collar stay only on the lining. okay, and I will join it. All right, and here it is. I have joined the sleeve. Okay, I've turned it, I pressed it open. Now I went ahead to attach one. All right, so you can see how flat is looking. So I'll go ahead and join this. I'll stitch it down on our marked line using 0.25 inch, just a very tiny stitch. Then afterwards I will top stitch it just so that it remains in place. All right, now once we are done, it's time for us to turn the fashion fabric with the lining. So you're going to place your lining on top of the fashion fabric with the right size facing each other. Now we will go ahead and turn. So we will turn the neckline, okay, first using our 1/2 inch, and we will flip inside our sleeve and we're going to stitch the armhole side. Now when I'm done, I will pull out the sides, the back piece from the front, okay, and I'll give it a good press. Now here we have it. I have turned it, okay, so I'll still go ahead and press this very well. All right, so the only opening that we have now, they are just our sides, okay. Our armhole is fully turned. All right, now we'll move so we'll proceed to turn the sides, okay. So we'll proceed to close the sides. Now to do that, we're going to hold our fabric to fabric and our lining together, okay. So I'll go ahead and just stitch down on our 1.5 inches that we had earlier marked. All right, and here we have it. Our half length or our half cut is ready. You can see the armhole joined, the sides joined, okay. I have pressed it down. All right, now let's proceed to calculate our peplum. So we're working with a total blouse length. The blouse length that we're working with is 26.5. all right, now my front length is 17.5. okay, so if you subtract 26.5 minus 17.5, we'll have 9 inches. Okay, so this is the length of the peplum. Now because this is a high-low peplum, we need to determine the length of the shorter length, which is the front, and the longer length, which is the back. Okay, so the front length, okay, so the length of the front is, so let's call it the front peplum. Okay, so the front peplum length will be this 9 inches. Then we're also adding 1 inch allowance to that. Okay, so that's 10 inches. So 10 inches is the length of the front. Now for the back, which is the longer one, okay, so for the back peplum length, the back peplum length is the length, okay, 9 inches. Then we're adding 3 inches, so that's 12 inches. Okay, so 12 inches, and then we're also adding extra 1 inch for the hemming and joining, so plus 1. All right, so that will make it 13 inches. All right, so the front peplum length is 10 inches, back peplum length is 13 inches. Now let's calculate the radius. Okay, so we're going to be making a kissing pleat, and to do that you need to multiply your waist round by 3. Now my waist round is 35, so 35 multiplied by 3 will give us 105. Now we need to divide this into 2 so that we can economize our fabric. So 105 divided by 2 will give us 52.5. okay, so 52.5, we will now go ahead and divide each of them by 6.28. So we'll do 52.5 divided by 6.28. all right, and that will give us 8.35. okay, so this is the radius that we are working with. All right, and this is the length. This is the front length of the peplum, which is the shorter length, and this is the longer length of the peplum, which is the one at the back, and that's 13 inches. Okay, now to know the extent of our folding, we'll go ahead and add the radius to this length. Okay, so for the front, okay, or for the shorter one, we have 8.35, which is the radius, plus the length of 10 inches. Okay, and that will give us 18.35. okay, and for the longer one at the back, we're doing the same thing, 8.35 plus length of 13. okay, and that will give us 21.35. okay, now that we have this calculation out of the way, I'll come in with our fabric Okay, and we're going to be folding with the longer length. All right. So here is my fabric. Okay, so I went ahead to cut the width. The width is 22, okay, 22.25. Remember that we have the longer length to be 21.35, which will round up to 21.5. So I have this cut, okay. Now I folded it into two and I just pinned it so that it does not shift when we fold. Now we'll go ahead and fold this way, okay. So remember, this is a high-low. Now the length of the low one, which is the front length, we got 18.35, okay? That is including the radius. So I'll go ahead now and measure, and we don't have up to 18. So I'll shift it this way and measure again to see if I can get 18. All right, and we have it now. Okay, we can also check the longer length, which we got as 21.35, and we have it. So this is it. Now I'll go ahead and pin this down. Now let's begin. So we'll first go ahead and mark our radius of 8.35, okay, which will round up to 8.5. So I'll go ahead and mark my radius. Marked. Now let's go ahead and mark the front length, and the front length including the allowance is 10, okay. So I'll make a mark here at 10. Now we'll come back from the radius to that length, and what we have here is 18.5. All right, so I'll go ahead and begin my marking. Now for this top part, as we approach this side, we'll be increasing the figure, okay. So we're starting with 18.5 this way, okay. I'll make a mark there at 18.5. now we will still mark 18.5 here, all right, but as we begin to come this way, we'll reduce it. So from this side, I'll mark 18.25. Okay, so from here we'll begin to increase it. As we approach this way, we'll increase it. Okay, so from here I'll mark 18.75 here. Okay, so I'll still mark my 18.75. Now I'll mark 19 here. Okay, I'll mark 19.25 here. All right, so I'll be increasing it as I get to this point. So this is 19.5 here. All right, mark 19.75 here. Okay, so still mark my 19.75. Okay, so I want to end it up with 20. Okay, so this is my 20 inches here. All right, so I'll go ahead and blend these lines. Okay, so as we moved from here, we began to increase. We started from 18.5, we ended up at 20 inches, and this is the short length. Okay, now the long length, we got 13 inches, which is inclusive of the allowance. Okay, now we can place it from here and mark our 13 inches. Okay, so this is our 13 inches. All right, so we'll take the tape back to the starting point so that we'll add both the radius and the length, and we got 21.35, which I told us that will round up to 21.5. Okay, so that's 21.5. Now for the longer length, as we approach this, we will reduce. Remember, for the shorter length, as we approached this side, we increased. Okay, so as we approach this side for the longer length, we'll be reducing. So we're starting with 21.5. okay, we will still mark 21.5 here. Okay, then we will reduce it to 21.25. okay, we'll still mark our 21.25, and I'll mark my 21. All right, so ignore these lines. Okay, so we're marking 21 now. All right, now we'll come down to 20.75. so we're practically reducing the back. Okay, so 20.75 again. We can mark 20.5 here. All right, 20.5. Remember, we ended the top part at 20, so from there we'll just blend it to join this one. Okay, so this is what we have. All right, this is what we have. This longer part, this is the longer length, and this is the shorter length. Okay, so I'll come in now with my scissors. Okay, and I'm going to cut out the radius first. All right, now we need to notch the angles. Okay, we need to notch the sides. All right, we'll also notch this side as well. Okay, now we need to cut out the shorter part. So to cut the shorter part, I'm going to raise it up. Okay, I'm not cutting the two of them together. I'll raise it up this way. All right, so I'm cutting just the top part. See, I'm not cutting the two of them together. Okay, so this is what we have. Now I'll also notch the lower part. All right, so I'll go ahead and cut out exactly this again on the lining. Then I'll cut out two of this on the fashion fabric. Okay, now so the style is a high-low two-step peplum. Okay, so for the first step, I'll go ahead and reduce the length with 3 inches. Okay, so I'll go ahead and shorten the length of the first step by 3 inches. Okay, so I have already marked it. Now I'll come in with my scissors and I'll just cut it out. All right, so here we have it. Now I'll also go ahead and shorten the length of one of the linings. Okay, so that both the fashion fabric and the lining of the first step will be equal length. All right, now I'll go ahead and iron down my interfacing on both the fashion fabric and the lining, because we need as much structure as we can get. Okay, so I'll do this and I'll turn them. All right, now this is the first step, so I have gone ahead to turn it with the lining. Now if you notice, I interface both the fashion fabric and the lining. All right, so the thicker the better. Okay, so now the next thing I need to do is to go ahead, take this to my sewing machine, and I'm going to join the two of them together. Okay, so I'll stitch them down so that they become a single piece. All right, so I'm stitching from the sides around the waist. Okay, so I'll stitch it down, give it a good press, and that will be it for the first step. Okay, now let's look at the second step. So here's the second step. Now you remember that when we were calculating the flare, we added allowance for the kissing pleat. So I went ahead to just do the kissing pleat. All right, now it's simple. The excess we have, you will first subtract your waist round plus your zip allowance from it. Now your excess, you will divide it, okay, and just split it out. All right, now it's time for us to turn the second step. Okay, so I'll go ahead and use my lining to turn it. Now I'm going to just turn the lower part and top stitch on it. All right, so I'll turn it, top stitch, give it a good press, and I'll show us how to join the first step and the second step together. Okay, so here we have it. So I've top stitched the first step like I explained earlier. So I have it stitched together. Okay, so both the lining and the fashion fabric is now a single piece. All right, so this is the inside. You can see how it's laying flat. Okay, so this is the second step. Now I have only turned the fashion fabric with the lining and I top stitched. All right, so it's still separate inside. Okay, you can see I interface both the fashion fabric and the lining. Now I'll come in with the first step. All right, so that I can explain to us how to join it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and join the first step that we have stitched together to the fashion fabric of the second step alone. All right, so we'll separate the lining of the second step just like I'm doing, and we're going to attach the first step to the fashion fabric of the second step alone with the lining separate. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stitch this together, okay, so that we can continue. Okay, so you can see it. I have joined it round. All right, I also went ahead to fix the zip. Okay, so you can see the zip. To fix your zip from the end, just come up by ½ inch, all right, and fix your zip. Okay, so this is my zip now. All right, so let me show us the inside. All right, so this is the wrong side. Okay, so now I will still leave it this way. Okay, so let me flip it to the right side so that we can continue. Okay, so now I'll come in with our half length. All right, so I'll go ahead and join this to the waist. Now the circumference of this waist is my waist round of 35 inches. Okay, remember that we reduced the waist on the half length. Okay, so what we have here is 35 inches. Now I'll go ahead now and join. So I have the midpoint here marked out. I'll go ahead and mark the midpoint on this blouse, okay, on the half length. Now I'll join it from the midpoint to this place. Okay, so I'll go ahead and join the fashion fabric, okay, to the fashion fabric here. Okay, and I'll join the lining here to the lining of the peplum. All right, so then I'll also use the lining to turn the zip, and that will be it. So I'll do this and I'll show us the finished look. So we're finally done. All right, so this is the blouse. I like to take us through all the tiny details. All right, so this is the armhole. You can see it's not deep because we did because of the way we calculated to get the chest line. So now this is the lower part. All right, you can see that this one is permanently joined here. Okay, so let me show us the back. Okay, the inside. All right, so this is the inside of the blouse. Okay, I'll still go ahead and press all this down well. Okay, see the way I finished up the waistline. All right, now one more thing, when you're done joining the waist, it's advisable that you notch it so that you can ease the tension around the waist. Okay, especially because of the double step flares that we attached. All right, so here we have it. Now when I was done, I turned it from here. Okay, so this is the only opening that we have left on this blouse. So as usual, I'll use my needle and thread and do a blind stitch here, okay, to close it. And that's it, we're done. You can see how everything is neat and clean. All right, and like I said, the neck, this is 3 by 3.25 depth. Now it's just on my collarbone, so if you want yours a bit lower, I will advise you drop it further if you don't want yours to be around your collarbone. Okay, and that's it. So I went ahead to do my modesty panel. So instead of doing with black, I decided to use the navy blue that we have on the print. All right, so this is how, okay, so this is how it's going to be. Now the reason why I dropped the length of the modesty panel by extra 1 inch is because by the time we lace this back, okay, so let me zip it up. All right, so by the time we lace this back, so that they will not see, any part of your body will not be visible. Okay, so that's the essence. All right, so this is how it's going to be. I'll go ahead and lace the back. All right, so we've come to the end of the video finally. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. Kindly subscribe to my channel if you have not, and drop your comments and your remarks. All right, and I will definitely attend to all of them. Okay, so till we meet again in my next video. Bye.